and I don't know, this may be such an antiquated way of looking at it, but I think the worst thing for that title was the thing on Thursday. To me. Now, as far as what happened on Saturday, if they're going to continue to bounce it around, I would agree that, they're changing it too much and it's going to mean nothing. And it may mean nothing right now, but my impression is that Justin Credible's going to keep it for a long time. And after a while, if he succeeds in the role, he can rebuild it. But I think that what they did, they almost symbolized by him throwing the tag team title belt down, and that it's a new beginning. And I almost sense a recognition that what they've done has hurt it, so now they're starting from scratch. I mean, Paul Heyman had a long talk with me last night, and it was like he made all these changes. So Mike Awesome is 3 champions ago, and Taz is 2 champions ago, and his current champion didn't beat either of them. So his current champion beat somebody else, and now it's a new beginning. And he, I think there's a recognition that, he's changed it too much, but it was circumstances somewhat beyond his control, somewhat under his control, but it was just the nature of what he felt he needed to do. I don't know about the Thursday thing, and when I talked to him about the Thursday thing, he said that was basically part of the price of of making the deal.
Yeah, but it didn't work. I mean, no ratings according to
You're right.
the numbers.
You're right.
I guess the TV title is worth more now than the heavyweight title.
Well, it's on Rhino, so I mean, if Van Dam still had it and had not gotten hurt, I would say absolutely the TV title would have been worth more than the heavyweight title.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Philip, I wanted to ask you, how much have you been following what's gone on as far as the regulation in New Jersey?
A little bit, but that extreme thing. The great work, you've told me all these great expressions. The great work in that issue was McMahon sending Christy Whitman, the governor of New Jersey, a note supporting her her stance on extreme wrestling, as if this stuff wasn't patterned completely after McMahon stuff and Turner stuff, as if McMahon still isn't grateful that she lifted the sports authorities, the athletic commission's auspices off of his shoulders, so he could do whatever he wanted at the Meadowlands and places like that. They have these shows, these fall shows, independents, with 300-400 people in a gym, and it's loaded with kids, and the announcements are, if you hear something that's going to bother you, get the bleep out, that kind of, we don't bleep and care. It's, there's real wise guy stuff. And there was the Star Ledger of New Jersey. New Jersey's biggest newspaper ran a front page expose on this stuff. And of course, once it hits that kind of media pressure, the governor and her minions reacted. And sure enough, Vince McMahon jumped in to try to distance himself from it, saying, "I support what Governor Whitman feels about this stuff." And he's the progenitor. He's the guy this is all patterned after. He's just, he is in one sense the most evil guy I've ever covered, and on the other side, one of the most stunning people I've ever. He has no conscience. Everything is a work, and he gets over more times than not. If he wasn't getting over, he wouldn't be where he's at now.
I want to mention one thing before we head to a break, and this is a post from Shawn Michaels. This is having to do with, I guess he will not be on the show tonight. This is from the rumors that started as far as him being on the show, and he just goes, I don't know of any return as of yet. I do have a personal appearance the day before Backlash, but I'm scheduled to return home that night. I can assure you that unless someone calls me pretty damn fast, I will be on that plane home. Do not take this as an attempt to buck the system. It's very simple. The WF knows who they want by now. If they want me for any dates, I'm more than happy to make them, as long as they are not last minute. Don't worry, they know that about me as well. So what I'm trying to say is that JR and letting the fans know that HBK will be back in some form or fashion. For how long, who knows? That's their choice, not mine. I must tell you, it was great to hear that this is a possibility. The WrestleMania Access was fun. I'd love to be in the spotlight again. Let me correct myself. I would love to share the spotlight again. The full-timers are the stars. So anyway, that's basically what he said, is that he hasn't heard about anything, but he wants to be on TV. If you were asked to talk about whether it be pro wrestling, as far as athletic commission regulations. What do you think an athletic commission should specifically be looking for to make pro wrestling, I guess, better?
Well,
for the participants and for the fans.
We've discussed the drug thing. I would make that as stringent as possible. I would make the penalties as stringent as possible. And beyond that, I mean, I had a chat with a fellow. What's that fellow's name from the ECW who says that, we're not for kids?
Joe Styles?
Yeah.
Joe Styles?
We had a nice chat. He's a nice fella. And so, we're not for kids and this and that. And at the same time, I said, well, then why isn't it 18 and under or 17 and under banned from the premises? I mean, Vince McMahon can say it's not for kids, and Linda McMahon and Ted Turner, well, it's not for kids. Ted Turner isn't even questioned on this stuff. He escapes. At least McMahon is there to answer the questions. He doesn't answer them honestly, but at least he's there for the questioning. But if it's not for kids, why would I turn on the TV set? Do I see 12 and 13-year-olds at ringside? If we ban them from the, like a strip club or a saloon or a movie, an R-rated movie, if they were to be banned from the premises, then maybe they can't sell that stuff to the kids. Maybe, those would be two things. One, first and foremost, for the safety of the wrestlers. And people can despise me, and they do because of my stance on pro wrestling. I understand that. But I'll tell you what, if I were Vince McMahon, if I were Ted Turner, if I were Paul Heyman, there wouldn't be these deaths of pro wrestlers. Guys would be wrestling a little slimmer and a little less cut, but they wouldn't be dropping dead in their hotel rooms. And beyond that, if it's not for kids, then let's make sure it's not for kids. Fans, they can't come into the arena. It's that easy.
One of the things in the New Jersey regulation, and the thing with the New Jersey stuff that really, we talked about this. What bothers me about the New Jersey thing, and believe me, this is not anything supportive of Jersey All Pro Wrestling or negative towards it. My feeling is that pro wrestling is pro wrestling, and if there is something, and in the article they pointed out some things that were going on, and the product probably is not something that I would think young kids, as far as the real gruesome hardcore wrestling, that young kids should go to. I mean, I know that there was an ECW pay-per-view. It was the last one that Bubba Ray Dudley did, because it was Bubba Ray Dudley did that obscenity-laced racist tirade thing on I think it was in Ohio, but I forget the city. But and then you see this young kid right in the front row, and I mean I felt really, really, really bad watching that. And my feeling is that in the New Jersey thing, one of the things that they're trying to introduce is banning of kids under the age of I believe it's 18 from attending what they call extreme wrestling. Now, to me, whatever it should be, and I think it should be discussed what is the right thing, it should be across the board. I mean, it should be these things are allowable at pro wrestling or they're not, and that should be for whether it's Jersey All Pro Wrestling or WCW or WWF. The rules should be the same. If WWF does something, if they're going to say that cutting your forehead with a razor blade is bad, it should be bad for WWF wrestlers as well as Jersey All Pro wrestlers. If they're going to say using a machete and cutting your arm off or slicing your arm up is gross behavior, and they ban it,
not in my neighborhood.
Yeah, it's like whatever. It's like it should be banned across the board or not.
I know what you're saying. You're looking for equity here. Which is
I'm just looking for fair, because I see them in the Jersey thing. I think the thing that bothered me the most about all of this is that when you look at the 10 points or so that they're making about how horrible extreme wrestling is, and they're not, most of the points are valid. That probably 7 or 8 of those 10 points apply to the WWF, and 1 or 2 of them don't. And I don't know which was worse, like the newspaper making a big deal out of the woman who or girl who got power bombed through a table and ended up cracking her neck in doing so, or the fact that WWF 2-3 weeks earlier, however many weeks earlier it was, did the exact same thing at the Meadowlands to a 77-year-old woman who, through the fact that she knows what she's doing and that she was lucky, came like a quarter of an inch from hitting her head on the floor, which would have been disastrous. And they've let Mae Young do things. One wrong slip, and I mean, my God,
Dave, I still maintain, that's redundant, I maintain that if executives within advertising companies, within merchandising companies, within networks, if they applied the same standards to our children that they did to their children, we wouldn't have to worry about it. This stuff wouldn't be bankrolled. This stuff wouldn't be underwritten. Mel Karmazin, Barry Diller, Ted Turner, the head of UPN, Dean Valentine, people such as these folks, if I were to sit with them in a room full of stockholders and showed them pro wrestling as it exists today and asked them to tell me why they favor having this on their network, other than the financial benefit.